Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Aston Martin, focusing on two extraordinary machines that represent different ends of the brand spectrum. We'll be comparing the ultra-exclusive 177 with the more attainable but still exceptional V12 Vantage. By the end of this video, you'll understand what makes each of these cars special, their strengths and weaknesses, and which might be the better ownership proposition depending on your circumstances. I've always been fascinated by Aston Martin as a brand. There's something quintessentially British about them, combining elegance with raw power in a way that few manufacturers can match. The 177 and the V12 Vantage both embody this philosophy, but they do so in dramatically different ways. Let's start with the crown jewel, the 177. When it was unveiled, the automotive world collectively gasped. This wasn't just another supercar, it was Aston Martin's definitive statement piece. Priced at $1.8 million, it represented the absolute pinnacle of what the company could achieve when cost was no object. The name itself tells you part of the story. Only 77 examples were ever produced, making it one of the most exclusive production cars of the modern era. If exclusivity is what you're after, few vehicles can match the 177's credentials. When you're driving one, you can be almost certain you'll never encounter another on the road. What makes the 177 so special, technically? Well, at its heart is a naturally aspirated 7.3-liter V12 engine. In an age where forced induction is becoming the norm, there's something gloriously old school about such a massive natural breathing engine. The sound it produces is simply otherworldly, a mechanical symphony that modern turbocharged engines simply cannot replicate. Performance figures are still impressive even by today's standards. 0 to 60 happens in around 3.5 seconds, and the top speed exceeds 220 miles per hour. But raw numbers don't tell the whole story. The way the 177 delivers its power is what makes it special. It's not just fast, it's dramatic, theatrical even. The body and chassis construction also showcase Aston Martin's commitment to excellence. The car features a carbon fiber monocoque structure with hand-formed aluminum body panels. Each panel required an incredible amount of skilled labor to produce, with some taking weeks to perfect. This blend of cutting-edge materials and traditional craftsmanship is what sets the 177 apart from mass-produced supercars. However, owning a piece of automotive art like the 177 comes with significant challenges. Maintenance costs are, frankly, astronomical. Let me give you some examples that might make even wealthy owners wince. Replacing something as seemingly mundane as the air conditioning pump can cost around $45,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $45,000 for an AC pump. A windshield wiper motor replacement might set you back around $10,000. These aren't even major components, just relatively minor parts that you'd expect to be reliable. Other owners have reported issues with mirror controls and the pop-up navigation system's motor. While the repair costs for these components aren't as well documented, you can imagine they don't come cheap. When you're dealing with a car this rare and this bespoke, there's no such thing as an inexpensive repair. And this brings us to another challenge of 177 ownership: parts availability. With only 77 cars ever made, Aston Martin didn't exactly set up a massive spare parts operation. Finding components that match the car's unique specifications often requires custom fabrication or sourcing from specialized suppliers, which further drives up those maintenance costs. Reliability is another consideration. While the 177 is undoubtedly a masterpiece of engineering, it's not immune to problems. There have been reports of various issues, with one particularly alarming incident occurring at a car show where 177 experienced a brief fire in the sill area. Now, to be fair, This sort of thing can happen with any high-performance vehicle, but it highlights the potential vulnerabilities in such a complex machine. Let's talk about value. You might think that such a rare and prestigious car would be a solid investment. And while the 177 has generally held its value better than many other supercars, it's not immune to market fluctuations. Economic factors and the very niche market for such high-end vehicles mean that their resale prices can vary significantly. Some owners have seen depreciation, though not to the same extent as more common luxury vehicles. So, in summary, the Aston Martin 177 represents the absolute pinnacle of what the brand can achieve. It's a stunning piece of automotive art with performance to match its looks. However, the ownership experience comes with significant financial and practical challenges that even wealthy enthusiasts need to consider carefully. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. This car offers a different, but in many ways equally compelling, ownership proposition. Introduced in 2009, it represented Aston Martin's approach to creating a more driver-focused vehicle within their range. The concept behind the V12 Vantage is beautifully simple. Take the company's smallest and most agile platform, the Vantage, and somehow squeeze their largest engine into it. The result is a 5.9-liter V12 producing 510 horsepower. While that might not sound earth-shattering by today's standards, it was plenty in 2009, and the way that power is delivered makes all the difference. One of the most appealing aspects of the V12 Vantage is that it was offered with a 6-speed manual transmission. In an era where automatics and dual-clutch transmissions are becoming ubiquitous, there's something special about the connection between driver and machine that only a manual can provide. The gear ratios are expertly chosen, allowing the engine to reach higher RPMs without being confined to lower gears, enhancing the overall driving experience. Speaking of the driving experience, this is where the V12 Vantage truly shines. It's not just about straight-line speed, though it's certainly no slouch in that department. It's about how the car feels on a winding road, the feedback through the steering wheel, the sound of that V12 as it climbs through the rev range. It's an engaging analog experience in an increasingly digital automotive world. Another appealing aspect of the V12 Vantage compared to the 177 is its more manageable maintenance requirements. While it's still an exotic car that requires specialized care, the costs are in a different league altogether. Servicing intervals are recommended every 10,000 miles, with costs for minor services starting around £800. That's not cheap by normal standards, but it's a world away from the eye-watering figures associated with the 177. Fuel consumption is another practical consideration. No V12-powered sports car is going to win any efficiency awards, but the V12 Vantage is relatively reasonable for its class. Some owners report average consumption figures in the low 20s mpg, which, while not economical, isn't going to bankrupt you at the pump either. Market values for the V12 Vantage present an interesting opportunity for enthusiasts. These cars have seen significant depreciation from their original retail prices, with examples showing higher mileage now available from around £60,000. This depreciation, while painful for original owners, makes the V12 Vantage an attractive proposition for those seeking V12 performance without the six-figure price tag that usually accompanies it. So, how do these two Aston Martins compare? They're both expressions of the same brand philosophy, but aimed at very different segments of the market. The 177 is the ultimate collector's item. It's a car that few will ever see in person, let alone own. Its value proposition isn't about practicality or even performance per se. It's about exclusivity, craftsmanship, and representing the absolute pinnacle of what Aston Martin can achieve. Owning one is a statement that it comes with significant financial and practical implications. The V12 Vantage, on the other hand, offers a more accessible entry point into V12 Aston Martin ownership. That it delivers a thrilling driving experience, the prestige of the Aston Martin badge, and that glorious V12 soundtrack, all at a price point that, while still substantial, is within reach of more enthusiasts, especially on the used market. One thing both cars share is character. In an automotive landscape increasingly dominated by turbocharged engines, hybrid systems, and autonomous driving features, these naturally aspirated driver-focused machines stand out for their purity of purpose. They're not trying to be all things to all people. They're unashamedly focused on delivering a specific type of driving experience. If you're considering either of these cars, it's worth thinking about what you value most in a vehicle. If exclusivity and having the absolute best regardless of cost are your priorities, the 177 might be worth its steep price of admission. If, however, you value the driving experience above all and want something you can use more regularly without constant fear of astronomical repair bills, the V12 Vantage offers a compelling alternative. Both cars will turn heads wherever they go. Both will provide their owners with stories to tell for years to come. And both represent different interpretations of what makes Aston Martin special as a brand. Let's delve a bit deeper into some of the ownership considerations for both models. With the 177, the reality is that you're not just buying a car, you're buying into an exclusive club. Aston Martin provided a level of customer service for 177 owners that went far beyond what most manufacturers offer. Dedicated points of contact, bespoke servicing arrangements, and a level of attention that reflected the car's status and price tag. This exclusivity extends to the car's presence at events. A 177 appearing at a Concours d'Elegance or high-end car meet still generates excitement among enthusiasts. It has a special aura about it, a recognition that you're in the presence of something truly rare and special. For some owners, this aspect alone justifies the cost of entry. The V12 Vantage, while more common, still commands respect in enthusiast circles. It's recognized as one of the last of a dying breed, a naturally aspirated V12 sports car with a manual transmission. As manufacturers move increasingly toward forced induction and automated transmissions, cars like the V12 Vantage gain additional appeal for their analog character. One interesting consideration is how these cars might age in the coming decades. The 177, with its limited production run and significant historical importance for Aston Martin, seems destined to become even more collectible. However, its complex systems and bespoke components might present increasing challenges as the cars age further. The V12 Vantage, with its more conventional construction and larger production numbers, might be easier to maintain in the long term. Parts availability, while never guaranteed for exotic cars, should remain better than for the ultra-limited 177. This could make it a more practical proposition for enthusiasts who actually want to drive their cars regularly, rather than treating them purely as investments. Speaking of driving, both cars offer distinctive experiences behind the wheel. The 177, despite its size and power, is surprisingly accessible to drive. Aston Martin put considerable effort into making sure it wasn't just a showpiece but a functional supercar that owners could enjoy on the road. The carbon fiber monocoque provides exceptional rigidity, while the adaptive damping system allows for a degree of comfort when required. The V12 Vantage is more raw, more immediate in its responses. The weight of that big engine up front gives it a distinctive character through corners, requiring a certain driving style to extract the best from it. It's not as polished as some of its competitors, but that's part of its charm. It feels alive in your hands in a way that more sanitized modern performance cars often don't. Another point worth considering is the community around these cars. 177 owners form an extremely exclusive group with opportunities to connect with fellow owners at high-end events or through Aston Martin's own private owner programs. The V12 Vantage, being more accessible, has a broader and more diverse owner community, with active forums, social media groups, and dedicated meets. Let's not forget the sound these cars make. Both feature variations of Aston Martin's V12, and both produce soundtracks that modern turbocharged engines simply cannot match. The One-77's 7.3-liter unit has a deeper, more thunderous note, while the V12 Vantage's 5.9-liter engine has a slightly higher-pitched, more urgent character. In both cases, the auditory experience is a crucial part of these cars' appeal. In terms of everyday usability, there's a clear winner. The V12 Vantage, despite its performance credentials, can function as a daily driver if required. It has reasonable luggage space, decent visibility, and compact exterior dimensions that make it manageable in urban environments. The One-77, with its wider body, limited visibility, and irreplaceable components, demands a more cautious approach to regular use. Insurance costs reflect this difference in usability and value. Insuring a One-77 requires specialist coverage and typically costs many thousands of dollars annually, assuming you can find a provider willing to take on the risk at all. The V12 Vantage, while still expensive to insure, falls within the realm of conventional high-performance cars rather than requiring bespoke arrangements. As we approach the end of our comparison, it's worth reflecting on what these two cars represent for Aston Martin as a brand. The One-77 was a statement of capability, a showcase for what the company could achieve when freed from conventional constraints. It pushed boundaries and established Aston Martin as a serious player in the hypercar segment, paving the way for later models like the Vulcan and Valkyrie. The V12 Vantage, meanwhile, represents Aston Martin's commitment to driver engagement and emotional appeal. It wasn't chasing headlines or trying to set records. It was simply focused on delivering a pure, engaging driving experience. In many ways, it's the more honest expression of what Aston Martin has traditionally stood for. Both cars have contributed to Aston Martin's legend in different ways. Both deserve their place in the pantheon of great performance cars. And both offer their owners something that goes beyond mere transportation. They offer experiences, stories, and emotions that only a truly special car can provide. So, which would I choose if money were no object? That's a difficult question. The One-77's exclusivity and status, as Aston Martin's ultimate expression of performance and luxury, make it exceptionally appealing. There's something undeniably special about owning a car that few others will ever experience. However, the V12 Vantage's more approachable nature, its focus on driver engagement, and the simple fact that I could use it more regularly without constant anxiety about damage or wear make it, in many ways, the more appealing ownership proposition. Sometimes the car you can enjoy without reservation is worth more than the one you have to treat with kid gloves. In truth, there's no wrong answer. Both cars represent different but equally valid interpretations of what makes a special automobile. Both deliver experiences that mass-market vehicles simply cannot, and both will continue to be cherished by enthusiasts long after many of their contemporaries have been forgotten. As we look to the future, cars like the One-77 and V12 Vantage take on additional significance. In an automotive landscape increasingly dominated by electrification, autonomy, and homogenization, these naturally aspirated driver-focused machines remind us of what made us fall in love with cars in the first place. The sound, the sensation, the emotional connection. Whether you're drawn to the exclusive, no-compromise approach of the One-77 or the more accessible but equally characterful V12 Vantage, what matters is the passion these cars inspire. They represent a high-water mark for internal combustion performance, a celebration of engineering excellence and driving pleasure that transcends mere transportation. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of two of Aston Martin's most compelling creations. I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into what makes these cars special and the different ownership experiences they offer. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What's your pick between these two Aston Martin legends? I'd love to hear your perspective. Until next time, drive safely and enjoy the journey.